Hello, I'm Lindsay Van Paris with GHD. We are the consulting firm hired by the City of Davis to study and deliver the Russell Boulevard, Arlington Boulevard Roundabout project. And today I'm here to tell you a little bit about what that project is. The white dashed line you see on the screen here is our project limits. So that is where the improvements are happening, and then outside of those limits, it'll be transitioning back to the existing conditions. So the project emphasizes bicycle and pedestrian safety and circulation while still accommodating vehicles. It's designed to improve access for bicyclists and pedestrians, balance the many stakeholders with competing interests, connect to the existing UC Davis trail system, and it's implementing part of the Reimagine Russell Corridor Vision Plan, as well as aiming to maintain all modes of traffic during construction, protecting the natural environment to the maximum extent practical, and providing safe solutions for all roadway users. And there's also opportunities for placemaking, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. There are various components to this project. Number one, we will be implementing a road diet along Russell and Arlington Boulevard. We will be including bike and ped-focused intersection improvements at Eisenhower. We will be converting the three crossings that you see at Russell and Arlington into the one intersection, as well as removing this mid-block crossing, including it as part of the intersection, and then adding improvements to the mid-block crossing just past the Russell-Arlington intersection. Those project components I just explained are shown here on the street. You can see the road diet, the intersection improvements, the roundabout at Russell and Arlington, and then the mid-block crossings. And I'll go through each one of those in a bit more detail on the following slides. First, we'll dive into the Russell Boulevard road diet and look at how we're proposing to repurpose the roadway. As I'm sure most of you are aware, the existing Russell Boulevard has 4 lanes in each direction with no bicycle facilities, and the sidewalk isn't accessible. It has trees growing right in the middle of the pedestrian pathway. In the proposed, we are proposing a bicycle lane with 2-foot striped buffers on either side, 11-foot travel lanes, a raised median with landscaping and or hardscaping, and then wider sidewalks that allow a clear pathway while protecting the existing trees in place. Now let's take a detailed look at the Russell-Arlington Boulevard intersection. Before we started recommending solutions, we wanted to ensure that we understood the existing conditions. And 3 of us on this team are local residents and experience those challenges on a daily basis. So with our input from the city and input from stakeholders, we know that this intersection has no consistent bicycle connectivity. It has minimal pedestrian connectivity, and a lot of that connectivity is through mid-block crosswalks or uncontrolled crosswalks. It's a vehicle-centric roadway configuration. The Y and T intersections are confusing. There's higher speeds than desired, and there are documented collisions. So as we began our analysis, we looked at level of service. So in Davis, at this intersection, cars aren't the only users. So all of our analysis looked at experiences and safety of pedestrians and bike users in addition to cars. But level of service, or LOS, is a qualitative measure used in traffic engineering to assess the quality of traffic flow on roadways and intersections, and not just vehicle traffic flow, all traffic flow. It categorizes traffic conditions into different levels, typically ranging from A to F, which A represents free flow traffic and F indicates severe congestion. So as we began looking at alternatives, we looked at a signalized option and a couple roundabout options. And in this table, the dash indicates no improvements, the O is minimal improvements, and the plus is improvements. And as you can see, the roundabout outperformed the signal on many of these factors. So based on the analysis performed, it is recommended that the roundabout alternative be moved forward as it not only performs better operationally, but provides better alignment of this challenging Y intersection. It also better accommodates non-motorized users and improves safety, sight distance, and traffic calming compared to the signalized intersection. The construction of a roundabout would also reduce delay at the intersection and remain operational well past 25 years in the future. Additionally, the roundabout would prevent queue buildup on Russell Boulevard and will not create significant queues on Arlington. Last year, we presented this preliminary concept to the former BTSSC, which is now the Transportation Commission, and we received input and feedback on the layout. We recommended the geometry that you see here on the screen because it is consistent with the current eastbound Russell alignment. It provides speed reduction of Arlington, shorter pedestrian and cycle path travel, and more linear crossings. It has a smaller inscribed circle diameter, promoting slower circulating speeds, and allows for maintaining traffic during construction. Before I get to the revised concept of what the intersection looks like based on the comments from the Transportation Commission, I wanted to take a few moments to look at roundabouts with separated bikeways. So we selected a roundabout with separated bikeways because, as I said earlier, in Davis and at this intersection, cars aren't the only roadway users. So we focused on a solution that would be pedestrian and cyclist friendly, and that includes separated bikeways at the roundabouts. The separated bikeways allow for the cyclist traffic to have their own dedicated space and pedestrians to have their own dedicated space. So the separated pathways allow a cyclist to navigate through the intersection with minimal vehicle-bicycle conflicts and minimal bicycle-pedestrian conflicts. It is important to note that the bicyclists do have to travel in a counterclockwise direction around the roundabout to complete their turning movements. And this also improves safety because the drivers only need to look at the cyclists coming from one direction rather than bidirectional traffic. Based on the comments received from the Transportation Commission, we provided various changes to that preliminary concept that I showed earlier. And one of those key changes is shown here in red on the screen, and that indicates the raised intersection. If you think of a speed table where you've got that gentle slope or a raised crosswalk, that gentle slope that leads up to the crossing and then it goes back down, that's essentially what we're doing here at this intersection to slow vehicles down even more. So the roundabout is designed to have speeds no higher than 25 miles an hour. On average, on our roundabouts, we see entering vehicles around 18 miles per hour. So this raised crosswalk feature will slow cars down even further ahead of the pedestrian and cyclist crossings. We provided more direct bicycle connections, including connecting to the UC Davis pathway, and incorporated some sweeping curvature there to make the access onto and off of that facility easier. We added a through bicycle corridor, so folks on their bikes that want to go just straight through the intersection don't have to get on to the shared use path there at UC Davis. We provided widened sidewalks, which allow us to protect the existing trees in place. We do have a truck apron to keep cars slow while still accommodating large vehicles. We have bicycle ramps out of and onto the bicycle lanes. There's landscape and streetscape opportunities, and deflection in the roadway to slow vehicles gradually on all three lakes. Then, as I mentioned before, the key with the separated bikeways is to separate bicycle and pedestrian crossing facilities. We also reduced the lanes to be 11 feet wide and ultimately wound up with the configuration that you see here on the screen. Now let's take a look at the Russell Boulevard Eisenhower Street intersection. As the intersection currently is today, there is no bicycle infrastructure on Russell Boulevard. Trees are blocking the sidewalk. It's a partially stop controlled intersection, so vehicles on Russell don't have to slow down. There are higher speeds than desired, and there are documented collisions. With the proposed design, we will be installing rectangular rapid flashing beacons at each one of the crossings, similar to what is shown here on the screen. We've created bulb outs, so widening that sidewalk creates a shorter crossing distance. There is a pedestrian refuge island here on Russell. Eisenhower will now be a right out only, but left ins are accommodated. And with the roundabout, making that U-turn, if you did want to go left onto Russell, is pretty easy. Let's take a look at the Russell Boulevard mid-block crosswalk. The mid-block crossing west of Arlington is in a challenging location. It's in that transition zone from where you're going to a more rural environment and coming into the city. And there's also some sight distance restriction. There are trees right next to where that crossing is, and it can be a little harder for cyclists and pedestrians to be detected by drivers. So we are proposing to keep the crossing in the same location, but adding in a median, creating some deflection in the roadway, narrowing the road lanes in order to encourage safe and slower driving. Taking a closer look at the proposed improvements, there is yellow striping leading up to the raised median. There will be better visibility of the flashing beacons. There will be flashing beacons on both crossings. That pedestrian refuge allows for pedestrians and cyclists to traverse just one lane of traffic at each time, helping with driver visibility and safer crossings. There is deflection built in with those medians to require the driver to make a steering motion and slow their vehicle down. So we want to hear from you and answer any of your questions. If you have any questions that you have, please reach out to the city, reach out to the project team. You can find all of that information on the city's website, and we hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.